Thank you, Dan. Good evening once again. It only seemed a matter of time that West Bromwich Albion would cement their place in the playoffs after the astonishing run they enjoyed once Carlos Corberán got his feet under the table at the Hawthorns. But the Championship often has a habit of just checking your progress and keeping you honest, and a string of defeats away from home mean that West Brom are now back in the chasing pack, looking to make up time. And this could be a tricky trip here on a freezing night on the banks of the River Humber. Hull City are gradually making progress under Liam Rosenior. Plenty of draws since he arrived, but a lack of goals has really been an issue for them. The Baggies will be hoping that Daryl Dike's brace against Middlesbrough last week could maybe kickstart him in another playoff charge after his form at Barnsley a couple of seasons ago. A reminder of the two teams once again. 4 changes for Hull. Christie, Greaves, Aboué and Estepinian all drop out of the side, which lost by a 1-0 at Bristol City last week. Coyle, Elder, Tete and Longman come in, so it's Darlow in goal, Coyle, Jones, McLaughlin and Elder the back four, Doherty and Simons in midfield, Tufan, Slater and Longman behind Tete in attack, a player who is yet to score in his 15 appearances for Hull City. One change for West Bromwich Albion. Grady Diangana is injured, so Mark Albrighton comes into the starting lineup. Griffiths in goal, Furlong, O'Shea, Peters and Townsend the back four, Yakuslu and Malumbi in midfield. Wallace, Swift and Albrighton are behind DK in attack. And we'll start with Hull City, Courtney, once again. Lack of goals for them, and their centre forward tonight hasn't scored any of them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's difficult, and I've praised Liam Rosenior in terms of the work that he's done to get them defensively more sound, but now's the time to start pushing forward to give those forward players some freedom, the confidence to score, and like you say, when there's a centre forward that's not scored, you may be looking at that team sheet very worried, but it's obviously been chomping at the bit to play. Estepinian's not been in great form, so Liam Rosenior maybe feels it's the time to put some new blood in there.
And for West Bromwich Albion, they'll be disappointed to lose Grady Diangana, who has been a patchy player since arriving on a permanent basis from West Ham. Of course, injuries haven't helped, but Mark Albrighton in many ways the ideal sort of player to bring in.
Yeah, definitely. Diangana, they're completely different players, and as you say, the form's been patchy. Is someone that can do something absolutely spectacular, but is he doing that on a consistent basis as much as players and managers and fans alike would like? Probably not, but I think you always know what you're going to get from Mark Albrighton. He's very steady, obviously technically fantastic on the ball, and got a wealth of experience.
Well, Survivor booming out from the public address here at the MKM Stadium, but survival not an issue for Hull City this season. Rock solid in mid-table, but West Bromwich Albion still have their eyes on the playoff places. They will get the game underway in their red shirts, dark blue shorts and white socks. Hull City in their tiger stripes of amber and black. And we start the football weekend once again across the Talksport network in the EFL Championship on the home of the EFL, Talksport 2, on what is a bitterly cold night here on Humberside. And it's West Bromwich Albion who get the game underway, playing from left to right in the first half, as we look down from our very high perch at the back of the West Stand here. The top tier of this main stand around us is shut due to a lack of bodies inside the stadium, so we're rather isolated and rather cold here as West Bromwich Albion look to build on this near side with O'Shea. Plays a 1-2 with Swift, and now Yakuslu finding Furlong quickly forward towards the edge of the penalty area, and there's an opportunity here for DK to try and burst down the right, but he just overruns the ball, and it's behind for a goal kick to Hull City, defending the goal away to our right hand side.
It's a good start from West Brom, the ball through to DK there, just not enough weight on it. I think DK does very well. He gets himself in the correct position, and he just wants a little bit more on that ball. Then he has to take the touch round, and Albrighton is, I think his positioning is very good. He's looking for the cut back, but DK just can't quite keep the ball in.
Carl Darlow, on loan from Newcastle, is the Hull City goalkeeper. Had two players on the edge of the 6-yard area to try and play the ball out, but opts to knock it long towards Tete on the far side. But it's quickly won back, and Albrighton will scurry forward in that familiar style for West Bromwich Albion down their left, but he's quickly challenged by Elder, and it will be a throw into West Bromwich Albion just inside the Hull City half on the far side. Now it's wide towards Malumbi again on this near side. 3 successive league defeats away from home for West Bromwich Albion after what was a terrific run which lifted them from the bottom of the table into the playoff zone. 9 wins and 1 defeat during that time, but it's 2 wins, 1 draw and 3 losses since, and all of those points have been gained at the Hawthorns, where they've only conceded 1 goal in their previous 9 games there. And of course they ended Middlesbrough's tremendous recent run with a 2-0 success last week, with what is widely considered by the locals to be their best performance of the season. And it just shows, Courtney, that when any team, maybe with the exception of Burnley, thinks they've cracked it in this division, there's always someone to come along and slap you in the face. Yeah,
there's always someone, and I think, Blades as well in second place a good embodiment of that in terms of, you thought they were going to run away with it with Burnley, Borough go and beat them, and it's after that the form's been a bit twitchy, and then you're looking at the game that they've got to play against Blackburn as well, and the form that Blackburn are in is very difficult. But I think this is what I always love personally about the Championship, and a lot of fans love watching it, is the fact that it's so unpredictable year on year, and again we've got another fantastic season of that.
And I'll be making a midnight dash across the Pennines to be at Ewood Park tomorrow lunchtime on Talksport 2 alongside Courtney's former manager at Sheffield United, Neil Redfern, as Tete brings it forward now for Hull City. Neatly lays it wide into the path of Elder. Elder's control there was a bit heavy, but then he wins it back and quickly plays the ball in field. Doherty will try and ride the challenge of Albrighton, does well to spread it wide towards the far side, and now a high hanging ball in from Coyle towards the far post, and challenging forward at some pace was Slater, and in the end the referee James Livington has penalised him for pushing on Furlong, and it will be a free kick for West Bromwich Albion.
It's a real good passage of play from Hull, the ball in from the right hand side. I think it's Coyle there, isn't it? A good deep cross, and I think Hull City there are unlucky. I think it's just 2 players challenging for the ball. Furlong comes off second best, but I think Slater doesn't do too much wrong there.
4 minutes played. Hull City 11 points from the top 6 and the relegation zone at the moment, so the chances are they won't be involved in the drama at either end of the table. Currently 16th, 7 home defeats here and only 6 wins, and only 18 goals in 17 games. And they're 4 games without a win here, with only 1 goal scored, as DK makes a break into the penalty area on this near side, and it's slid low towards the edge of the area once again, and DK is there to keep it going with the help of Wallace. Yukuzlu taking over is Swift, wearing gloves on such a cold evening, and the cross in towards the near post, and it's a flick header which is over the top from Furlong, and maybe he was in a better position there than he initially realised.
Yeah, I do think that maybe got a little bit more time as well, but I think, look, you see the way West Brom play. I like the way that they recycled it there, started off one side, coming round the other. We know that Hull have got such a fantastic defensive shape, so it's almost put the double switch in there to try and open up the channels you see where they're trying to exploit Hull.
Tufan wide to this near side, but it's quickly cut out by Furlong, and now Wallace wins it back for West Bromwich Albion, and he's forced all the way back to Dara O'Shea. One of his 2 goals this season came in Albion's 5-2 success against the Tigers in August, the only league win under Steve Bruce this season. And West Brom have won the previous 6 league meetings, a run going back to November of 2018. And now an opportunity for Jed Wallace to deliver a cross down the right hand side, but he just gets his feet in a tangle, and it's gone behind for a goal kick. And we can clearly see the rugby league lines on the pitch here. Of course, Hull City share this stadium with Hull FC, who have been thumped already by Catalan Dragons in Super League tonight. Hull KR also have a home game in this city, so it's a very busy night, and dual sporting fans have maybe had to make a choice.
I do wonder as well whether Liam Rosenior tries to use that to his advantage in terms of the thirds of the pitch are clearly marked out, so normally when you're doing certain presses, whether it's a high press or mid or a low block, you have certain engagement lines, so I wonder if that's something that Liam Rosenior just tried to use.
Adrian Durham, who knows this city very well, this is certainly a very interesting stat. Hull City apparently have the hardest run-in of all, looking at the current form and the average position of all the teams left in the Championship. So Liam Rosenior will be looking for some sort of reactions and some sort of message from his team, because a number of players will be playing for their futures. Everybody is at this stage of the season in the Championship, but with a squad like this that was built for somebody else, Liam Rosenior would expect to see players to really put their hands up now.
Yeah, exactly, and in football you're always playing for your shirt, but especially in this position where it's a different manager that you started the season with. In the position that they're in, obviously there's a long way to go, but as you say, relatively safe, not get dragged into that relegation zone, but nothing really to play for, so the summer's going to be very interesting for Hull City.
Now a cross high into the penalty area, which is nodded clear by Elder on this near side, but it's quickly recovered by West Bromwich Albion. Wallace back towards Furlong, and they've dominated the opening 8 minutes here in terms of possession, and now laid wide again by Malumbi. The cross in, looking for DK, who claims he was pushed inside the penalty area, but he's the player who has been penalised by James Livington, and it will be a free kick for Hull once again.
It's a real good ball in from Wallace. He gets it right this time. He just tucks it out of his feet and whips it right behind that back line. I do think DK did get a bit of a shove, but I think it was Alfie Jones that just knocks him off balance in the box, and it's just the right side of legal to make sure that DK doesn't get a good connection on it.
Hull KR have just scored against Lee in Super League, so all three of the major sporting teams in Hull in action on a Friday evening, so it'll be a fairly quiet weekend in this part of the world. Here we played 8 minutes and it's Hull City 0, West Bromwich Albion 0 on the home of the EFL, Talksport 2. Albion, a side who are looking to make ground on the playoff places once again. Of course, they had that big win against Middlesbrough, which many of their fans were considering was a final chance to really spark a playoff campaign this season. They've had some pretty tough games away from home, losing at Burnley and Watford, and then a real rarity, they actually lost against Birmingham at a time when no one else is. There's a cross into the penalty area from Swift. It's deflected towards goal by Albrighton, and in the end it's a really good save by Griffiths under pressure from DK. But Mark Albrighton, who has scored all of his previous league goals in the Premier League, close to opening his account in the Championship.
Yeah, I don't think actually Albrighton there gets the connection that he really wants on it, but actually because of that it almost outfoxes Griffiths, who does extremely well on the first time of asking, but then DK is steaming in looking for a tap in, and again Griffiths nice and brave there. It's a real good save.
Back again towards Darlow, and now wide towards this near side again, and it's played downfield and cut out by Furlong. Furlong's got support from Wallace, but in the end he's given the ball away. Tufan has been fouled by DK, and it will be a free kick for Hull City, who've not really got going yet in this game. A win for West Bromwich Albion tonight, and they'll be back to within 3 points of the top 6. Millwall and Luton, of course, level on points at the moment. Blackburn on 55 points. They're live on Talksport 2 tomorrow lunchtime at home to Sheffield United. Burnley with that monster lead at the top, 12 points ahead of Sheffield United, and they themselves are 7 points clear of Middlesbrough. So the top two are looking, or both of the top two are looking pretty secure once again, but Sheffield United know it's a tough game coming up for them tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a tough game, and actually West Brom here did them a favour in terms of beating Borough. They'd sort of closed ground. Middlesbrough beating the Blades on home turf at the Lane, but again it's opened itself back up.
And it's going to be one of those divisions, you feel, where Sheffield United have the capability of pulling away, but they themselves have got injury problems as well, and the transfer embargo which hampered their progress in January could yet play a part between now and the end of the season. Furlong plays it forward here for West Bromwich Albion. It was cut out initially by Elder and then closed down by Tufan, and it will be a throw-in to West Bromwich Albion. And both coaches are out on the edge of their technical area, very, very animated at the moment. And we saw at Huddersfield that was the Carlos Corberán style, and Liam Rosenior very thoughtful off the pitch, but clearly somebody who demands very high standards on it.
Yeah, and you see sort of, as I say, off the pitch and interviews is quite calm and collected, but you can see him here how animated he is in his technical area, demands a lot from his players, and you know that seems to obviously have worked since he's been in, and he's got Hull into now a more positive space.
And he's taken on a job which has had a fairly limited shelf life at times in recent years, but he's shown confidence in his ability as Wallace tries to thread it forward towards DK, but they weren't quite on the same page, and it's gathered by Carl Darlow once again. Don't forget, coming up on Talksport 2, 5:15 tomorrow from the Gallagher Premiership, live from Twickenham, Harlequins against Exeter with Andrew McKenna and Tom May. And there'll be PGA Tour Golf on Talksport 2 at 8. Live coverage of the Arnold Palmer Invitational from Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and Lodge in Orlando, Florida. Both of those on Talksport 2 following the football tomorrow. And it's another very busy day of action across the Talksport network, with a double header here on Talksport 2. Blackburn Sheffield United, as we've mentioned, followed by Arsenal against Bournemouth from the Premier League at 3 o'clock with Ian Danta and Alvin Martin. Manchester City against Newcastle, live and exclusive from the Premier League on Talksport at 12:30 with Reshman, Sam and Dean Ashton. And then on Sunday we have the Continental Cup final between Arsenal and Chelsea. Always a big day in the women's football calendar with Faye Carruthers, Joe Shannon and Leanne Sanderson. Of course, Chelsea beating Arsenal in the FA Cup last week, and they seem to have the number on them at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, they've got the monopoly on it again now, Arsenal having such a good start to the season, but I do think that sort of the lack of comings in for Arsenal in the January transfer window, especially having lost Beth Mead and Vivian Miedema to long-term injury, I think we're now seeing them struggle more so than we used to.
And they've got a tough game coming up in the Champions League as well. Well, both Arsenal and Chelsea have, with Chelsea facing the reigning champions Lyon at the end of March. 14 minutes played here, it's 0-0 as Yakuzlu brings it forward now for West Bromwich Albion, back towards O'Shea. Albion's good starters rather fizzled out here, but now there is space for Albrighton on the left, but Yakuzlu either didn't see him or tried not to find him. Now O'Shea once again, and Albrighton is completely unmarked by Coyle, who has come in field considerably. Now Albrighton comes in field and the players become even more congested.
Yeah, they've just pushed the full-back on really wide. It's because Hull are doing well in their defensive shape. They're making it very compact in the middle, willing to give up the width because they feel that that's not the danger area and they can win that battle eventually in wide areas.
Albrighton does well to keep the ball in play under pressure from Coyle on the far side. Now Tete tries to win it back from Peters, and Tete got the final touch, and it will be a throw-in to West Bromwich Albion. Midway inside the Hull half on the far side. Decent crowd inside the MKM Stadium this evening. Maybe 750 to 1,000 West Bromwich Albion fans grouped around the corner flag away on the far side to our left, as the foul has been committed on this near side by Sean McLaughlin, and it was a rather silly challenge on Jed Wallace, just barging him in the back by the corner flag because Wallace wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah, he was, to say, he wasn't really arrowing towards goal. He was faced out to the touchline there, so you think just use your defensive shape, force him out. There was no need for that push in the back, and now West Bromwich Albion have got a free kick in a really dangerous area.
And John Swift, who was the assist king for Reading last season in the Championship, he will take it. Hull have everybody back behind the ball defending. Whipped in by Swift towards the near post. Tete rising to head the ball clear. Now Malumbi back towards Eric Peters on halfway, and he's been given plenty of time here to deliver the ball he wants. Left-footed, wide towards the far side, taken down superbly by Townsend, poked in field again and fired towards goal, first time by Wallace, and it's saved by Darlow at the second attempt.
Yeah, Darlow does well there, but I can't help but think the shot's got to be better in terms of the ball out. It's a fantastic crossfield ball. The touch is absolutely wonderful to set Jed Wallace up, and just doesn't quite hit through the ball well enough.
Now Townsend again down the left, in towards DK with a glancing header. Brilliant save by Darlow. DK on the rebound, and he blazes it wide with the help of a deflection, but at the moment Carl Darlow was keeping Hull City afloat. That
is an absolutely unbelievable reflex save. That's what keepers train for day in, day out, and you just expecting at that point the net to ripple. DK does really well, gets up, doesn't get too much on the header at that point, but that's what you need in that position, just to glance it. But somehow Darlow gets down so quickly, and that battle at the moment between Darlow and DK is certainly heated up.
Well, we only seem to have one ball on the pitch at the moment, and John Swift asked Darnell Furlong to bowl it across to him, and he threw it over the advertising hoardings out of play. But now Swift will take the corner in towards that near post, volley clear by Coyle. Hull will try and leave the penalty area here, but in the end Peters goes all the way back towards Josh Griffiths, the youngster who has played the last three for West Bromwich Albion, having been on loan at Portsmouth, and it's an excellent ball from him. Wide to Swift on the far side. He tries to pick out Townsend, but the ball, I think, had gone behind before he delivered the cross, which was tipped over the top by Darlow, and it will be a goal kick to Hull City. With 18 minutes played on Talksport 2, and it's Hull 0, West Bromwich Albion 0.
West Bromwich Albion now just seems to be profiting on that ball out from the defence to that left-hand side, and whether it be Townsend getting on and doing the overlap, or one of the other West Bromwich Albion players coming out in that wide area. It's all Brighton at times as well. They seem to be profiting really well, and it's just now about just getting the good quality in the box for DK to thrive off.
And you're listening to Hull against West Brom in the EFL, live on Talksport 2 with Carling, the UK's #1 lager, 18 plus. Please drink responsibly. Now Yakuzlu, Turkish international, facing a team full of Turks here tonight, or certainly a club full of Turks in terms of the playing staff. 6 players signed from Turkish clubs during the summer transfer window, 13 different nationalities. Rajon Ilyela really backed Shota Arveladze in the transfer market, or players were bought for Shota Arveladze to use, but of course he didn't get beyond mid-September. A 3-0 defeat at Swansea City, I remember that live on Talksport 2, proved to be the end for him. Now DK showing good strength to turn away from McLaughlin, has support from Swift on the edge of the penalty area. Coming across to clear is Elder, and now on the halfway line it's O'Shea for West Bromwich Albion once again. 20 minutes played, and the Baggies enjoying a spell of dominance once again.
I think DK can do more with that. The turn initially, how he rolls McLaughlin, is fantastic, and then I think at that point with the ball at his feet, keep driving. He's trying to find his teammate in Swift, but I think if he keeps driving, gets himself into the box, West Bromwich Albion find themselves in a better position.
Of course, Daryl DK was a revelation with Barnsley when they reached the playoff 2 years ago. Signed in the January transfer window under Valerian Ismail, who then moved to West Brom, and they weren't really a good fit, let's say. But DK was signed last January, just before he was sacked, and he spent a long time on the treatment table since, but he does seem to be finding his form once again, including those 2 goals against Middlesbrough last week. There's a hole played down on this near side. Liam Rosenior was looking for a free kick as Regan Slater went down, but play continued, and in the end West Bromwich Albion win a throw-in midway inside the Hull half.
And it's whatever's happened, that coming together certainly hurt him. He just sat down right on the turf straight away. But Liam Racina, as you say, wasn't overly happy with that. He was talking to the fourth official, and now it's just an opportunity. You can see him, there's 4 or 5 Hull City players, they're all coming into him now, getting some instructions, because they've been under the cosh really for the first 22 minutes of this game. They need to find a way to keep pushing forward. There's only so long you can be put under pressure the way that they are at the moment.
Well, Darnell Furlong, who was involved in the challenge with Slater, just checked he was okay on the way to have his own debrief with Carlos Corberán, and both coaches at the moment are making use of this injury break to get their points across, and players also taking on some fluids on what is still a bone-chillingly cold evening here. A reminder, plenty of football coming up next midweek across the Talksport network. On Monday night on Talksport, West London derby, Brentford against Fulham. Then on Tuesday in the Champions League, Chelsea against Dortmund. Of course, Dortmund 1 up from the first leg. Reading against Sheffield United will be live here on Talksport 2. Then on Wednesday, Bayern against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League will be on Talksport. The programme coming live from Spurs against AC Milan. And on Thursday night we are back in the Europa League on Talksport 2, 5:45 for Sporting Lisbon against Arsenal as the round of 16 gets underway in that competition. Regan Slater back on his feet and about to return to the field of play. 23 minutes played here, and it's Hull 0, West Bromwich Albion 0, but all of the chances in the game so far have been for the visitors, as Albrighton links up with Townsend again down the left-hand side. And Townsend tries to find Albrighton, who just checks back away from Coyle. Coyle is able to make the challenge and then wins the ball back, but quickly gives the ball away. And here is Swift for Albion on the edge of the penalty area, but again a good challenge from Coyle. And in the end, the high ball into the box is claimed by Darlow. But he has been the much busier of the 2 goalkeepers so far. We have had 5 shots in the game, 3 on target, and they've all come from West Bromwich Albion, who have had 75% possession. They are the away team.
And you just see there, though, whatever Liam Racina has said to his Hull City side is looking to pay dividends already. See Regan Slater getting up high. Hull definitely look more expansive and wanting to go forward a bit more. That ball there was poor from Elder going forward, but they definitely seem to be on the front foot a little bit more now.
And West Brom have a throw-in on this near side. 24 minutes played. 0-0 at the MKM Stadium. And we can see the lights of West Hull from our panoramic view here at the back of the West Stand. As Peters goes all the way back towards Josh Griffiths once again. And I think we can see, Courtney, why Hull find it so difficult to not just score goals but even create them.
Yeah, they seem so solid in their defensive shape, but the problem is at times they drop so deep, they're struggling to get out, and also they work so hard to win the ball back at times, but then sort of in the second phase they give the ball back to the opposition team so quickly. Good ball forward from Swift in towards Townsend. The reverse ball back into Albrighton was just a bit too firmly hit. It ricochets off him, but Albion quickly win it back, but Yakuzlu unable to pick out the run of Swift on the edge of the penalty area, and Hull City will try and build once again. They are missing a number of senior midfield players. Jean-Michael Seri, Aaron Connolly on loan, of course, from Brighton, somebody who could try and create and maybe score a goal. Ryan Woods is also injured at the moment, and Oscar Estepinian is on the bench here tonight. I'm sure we will see him fairly early in the second half if this continues, because Benjamin Tete is not really seeing the ball. He's barely having a kick here. No, I think we could count on one hand the amount of touches on the ball he's actually had, but I agree in terms, I think that the midfield is where some of that issue stems from as well, because in terms of the balls that are going up to the forwards, it's slim to none, so the midfield needs to be dropping in, finding the pocket so they can then play the ball forwards and give some service to those forward players.
Now Tete on the edge of the penalty area, found by Coyle's ball forward, but we can see from up here that he was offside.
Yeah, and that won't help Benjamin Tete's cause there, in terms of it's the first time really that they've got forward and it's his forward running to try and occupy those defenders, and he finds himself offside.
Now Jason Malumbi, one of a number of former Brighton players on the field here tonight, looks to find Swift, but McLaughlin will go all the way back towards Darlow once again, and Darlow, wearing all grey, has been extremely active so far with a couple of fine saves. One really good save to keep out the header from DK. Tete wants a free kick here as he's wrestled to the ground by Peters, but nothing given, and Wallace will look to tease on the right hand side. The cross is deflected in towards the near post area. It's held up back towards Albrighton, but then Hull will clear once again. But Tete is getting no change out of either O'Shea or Peters. Maybe needs some help up there, and once again he's beaten to it by O'Shea in the air, but this time a free kick has been given to Hull City for pushing. Yeah,
and I think though that's less of a free kick than the original one, where Peters has literally wrestled him to the ground by his shoulders. I don't know whether that's maybe in the referee's mind and he knows he's not made the right decision there, and I just think with that one it's O'Shea that almost he gets the jump on Tete there and comes over the top of him, but I don't overly think that was a foul.
But it's a free kick for Hull, and McLaughlin is over it. Tete does have support further forward from Longman and Tufan, and McLaughlin sprays it wide to the far side, looking for Coyle, over his head, straight out of play for a throw-in.
And that's such a waste, and that's why I said a few moments ago in terms of, well, it's so hard to sit in that defensive shape for a long time. It consumes not just your physical energy but mentally, so when they do get opportunities then to play the ball and they give it straight back to the baggies, it's so frustrating.
Now Swift on the far side, pirouettes in field again, always such an accomplished player on the ball. O'Shea sprays it wide to this near side, and Furlong, who tries to flick on for Wallace down the right, but it's quickly won back, and in the end it's tenacious play and decent play from Xavier Simons, and then Tete goes down as he clashes with Peters, looking to chase a long ball forward, and Tete's waving his arms around, but the referee waves play on.
I think the problem at that point is, for that one, he's frustrated, and that's 6 of one and half a dozen at the other.
Now at the other end, Wallace coming forward now down the right for West Brom, back towards Furlong. Malumbi makes the break from midfield down the right again, back towards Wallace, the first time cross into the area. There's a miss kick inside the box. Brighton wins it back, and then Furlong with the shot, but in the end West Bromwich Albion are penalised for handball, I think, against Albrighton.
Yeah, but just going back to this little battle between Peters and Tete, this is why Peters, look, he's got so much experience and he's doing exactly what he wants in terms of frustrating Tete, making Tete get drawn into that battle rather than sort of trying to get on the ball and play in his own game.
And now Tete is looking to pull to this near side, and Dara O'Shea, but either side of him you've got Ozan Tufan and Ryan Longman, and Regan Slater in behind them, and they're all too far away from him at the moment. He looks like a player maybe lacking a bit of confidence and could just do with a goal going in off his backside or something similar, but he's getting no sort of service whatsoever. Now Wallace plays it forward for West Bromwich Albion. DK, and Malumbi tries to win it back, and then the referee does give a free kick because Malumbi was caught there, and it will be a free kick to West Bromwich Albion. We welcome listeners from Talksport to the MKM Stadium on a very cold night on Humberside. Half an hour played, Hull 0, West Bromwich Albion 0, and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, Albion have been the dominant team. Yeah, they've been the dominant team. Carl Darlow has been forced into a number of really good saves. One from DK, a fantastic header that I thought personally was in. He gets down to his right hand side,
very well. Another chance for Michael Brighton, and again DK following up. So Cardalo has been by far the busier keeper, but Hull, as we know, they've sat well in their defensive shape. They've made it very difficult for the Baggies, but actually not offered a hell of a lot going forward.
And it's a free kick for West Bromwich Albion. Swift swings it high towards the far post. Coyle with a header in field, then Furlong with a header across the face of goal, which is claimed by Darlow at the far post. And how many balls into that penalty area have been won by West Brom heads?
Yeah, they've done well on the first face, West Brom, but on the second, Darlow has been very good. He's been on his front foot, and the only thing I will say for West Brom is, yes, they've had all the possession, they've had the chances, but they've got to stick one of them away, because how many times do we see games turned on their heads?
Now Longman at the other end on this near side will try and take on Furlong, plays it back towards the edge of the penalty area, and Slater with a cross in, which is claimed by Griffiths. Commentary continues on Talksport 2. 32 minutes played. It is Hull City 0, West Bromwich Albion 0. And when the ball was crossed into the penalty area there, it was nowhere near an amber and black shirt.
Yeah, and then that's the problem. Hull now getting forward a bit more freely, but they've got to make sure that in the final third they make the opportunities count. They're working so hard to win the ball back, so when they do that, they can't waste it.
Elder tries to nod it forward now. Furlong is challenged by Slater, and then Furlong wins it back, and a clever pass from Albrighton wide to this near side, but the ball intended for Wallace is quickly cut out, and here is Slater now breaking into the penalty area. Tete with the shot. Oh, what a goal! Benjamin Tete with his first for Hull City, and it's a thing of beauty. He sinks to his knees in relief as much as anything else. It broke to Tete inside the penalty area, and he lashed it left-footed high beyond Griffiths. The first shot Hull City have had, and it ripped into the back of the net, and it's Hull City 1, West Bromwich Albion 0.
It's a fantastic shot. We spoke about Tete looking like a player devoid of confidence, but not in this moment. He looks like a player that's already scored 15 goals. The way he struck that is such an acute angle. There's so much to do on the left-hand side of the box there, but there's so much power behind the shot. He goes across the goalkeeper, and he hits it in that top right-hand corner. It's a real good finish, and as I was saying probably only a moment earlier, yes, West Brom, they've had all the possession, all the chances, but you've got to make them count, otherwise you might rue those missed chances, and they certainly will be now.
Well, on the balance of play, we couldn't see that coming, but West Bromwich Albion have had all of the ball, all of the chances, but they've been caught out by a bolt from the blue from a player who had not scored in his previous 15 games. The Ghanaian international, Benjamin Tete, who's been around Europe, played in various countries, now has his first goal in England. Now at the other end, a header wide beyond his own goal for a corner from Callum Elder. It was a difficult bouncing ball into the penalty area, and he stooped on the edge of the 6-yard area, and I think knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I did panic for a moment from the angle here. It looked like he potentially got it wrong, but as you say, Nigel, I think he knew what he was doing.
Corner kick from Swift into the penalty area, and the header at the near post bobbles wide. It was Dara O'Shea who was arriving, and he was under pressure when he met the ball, and in the end it bobbles harmlessly wide, and the atmosphere inside this stadium has been transformed. It was all a bit quiet, one or two grumbles. Hull City were offering absolutely nothing going forward, and then they score a goal like that. Yeah,
and I can't believe really it's come from absolutely nowhere for Hull City, and now it's a huge 10 minutes for them to get to half-time still in the lead.
Well, they're coming forward again here with Coyle in towards Tete, who brings it down, and he's penalised. The shot was actually saved by Griffiths, but I think he was penalised for handball in the build-up to that, Benjamin Tete, but he looks a different player.
He does. It's unbelievable what a goal can do for your confidence, not just for him personally, but obviously for this stadium, for the fans, for the whole team. And Coyle does ever so well getting down that right-hand side. It's a good ball in. You see what Tete's trying to do, bring it down on his chest and hit it early, but adjudged to have played the ball with his hand.
And West Bromwich Albion look completely stunned by what has happened. One shot, one goal for Hull City. West Brom have had 6, 3 of those on target and 70% possession, but the Championship is all about taking your chances and crucially scoring when you're on top, and Tete is away again now. Down the left-hand side, he's got support and he backheels it towards Longman. Longman comes infield towards the edge of the penalty area and it's wide towards Coyle, and now Doherty with the cross in, Slater with a header which deflects off the head of Peters and is gathered by Griffiths.
What I really like about that move is Regan Slater, the way that on the transition, the counter-attack from Hull, he finds a very good pocket and immediately is on the half-turn. Previously, when Hull have been going forward, it's looked tentative, they've maybe took a couple of touches, gone backwards, but Slater there automatically looking to play the ball forward and find Tete.
Well, Hull had only scored 1 goal in their previous 4 games. Hadn't won any of them after back-to-back wins over Queen's Park Rangers and Cardiff. But they're ahead here against West Bromwich Albion, whose problems away from home are resurfacing once again. Now DK with a layoff which doesn't find Albrighton. He slips and Slater is away now for Hull. Wide to Tufan down the right-hand side. Low ball into the 6-yard area, which is slid behind by Dara O'Shea for a corner kick to Hull.
That's a great ball in the box. I think Tete there, he needs to be making that front post run. He's the nearest to the ball. And I think it's Longman at the back stick. He's occupying that area. So at that point, Tete just needs to dart across the front post and he's got to tap in.
Corner kick on the far side, which the Australian Callum Elder will take. And West Bromwich Albion here are still riding the punch of that opening goal. And the corner's played all the way short, back towards Coyle, high to the far post, Tete rising, and it's fisted clear by Griffiths, but it's recovered by Doherty inside the penalty area. He was slightly off balance as he looked to deliver the ball in, and it's scrambled clear by DK, and it will be a throw-in for Hull on this near side. 38 minutes played on Talksport 2, Hull 1, West Bromwich Albion 0. The scoreline does not really tell the story, but since the goal from Benjamin Tete, Hull are swarming forward again. A long throw into the near post, DK rising to head clear, Doherty returns it towards Tete, who brings it down with his back to goal, and the shot from Coyle is deflected. Tete with an overhead kick is blocked inside the penalty area by O'Shea, and it's gone behind for a corner. I think that was going in.
I do too, Nigel. It's just unbelievable, the confidence of him, the fact that probably 8 minutes ago he looked devoid of confidence, and now he's trying overhead kicks in the box. It's absolutely amazing.
And the Hull fans exultant here as they prepare to watch their team take another corner. Elder on the far side. Tete waits around the penalty spot, and it's swung towards him. In the end, though, Longman is beaten to it by DK, but it's a good ball back into the penalty area by Simons, but it's gathered at the near post by Josh Griffiths.
See what Simons were trying to do there. I think it's the right idea. We're just trying to play the ball around the side and hope someone was recognising the run, but no one was on his wavelength right there.
Xavier Simons signed from Chelsea during the transfer window, only 20 years of age. And they had a fairly busy January, Hull City. Liam Rossini looking to imprint his ideas on the squad. Adama Traore, a Mali international, signed from Hatay Sport, made his debut last week. He's on the bench tonight along with Oscar Estepinian. Now Yakuzlu tries to find Wallace, and the back pass from Elder all the way back towards Carl Darlow, who saves early on in this game now carry an even higher value following that goal from Benjamin Tete.
Yeah, it's a massive tick above his name. He's kept his team in it. Darlow made some real good saves, and as I say, that's probably the difference that Liam Rossini has brought to this side in terms of being dogged and determined to keep that clean sheet. And when you do that, you always give your forward players a chance to go and get you in front and win the game for you.
Wallace in pursuit of a long ball forward down the right hand side, and he's covered well by McLaughlin, but it will be a throw into West Brom. a couple of yards from the corner flag down there right. Don't forget, tomorrow, game day back on Talksport at 12:30 with Manchester City against Newcastle with Reshmin Sam and Dean Ashton. I'll be alongside Neil Redfern at Ewood Park on Talksport 2 for Blackburn against Sheffield United. Game day live with Adrian Durham. Live from Stamford Bridge with all the goals as they go in. Arsenal against Bournemouth will be live here on Talksport 2 with Ian Danta and Alvin Martin as West Brom look to attack from the throw-in on this near side. Tete has now lost out. Albrighton with a good ball into the penalty area. Wallace has got time to assess the situation, played the cross in, but it's blocked at the near post, and Coyle now can bring Hull City clear. He's got support from Tufan on the outside. He will chase forward now, look to break towards the edge of the penalty area, but Peters gets across to make the covering challenge, and it's back with Josh Griffiths once again. Now O'Shea finding Furlong. Furlong almost treads on the ball, plays himself into trouble. Doherty tries to win it back on this near side. It's back with Furlong again, who goes down, looks for the free kick and gets it.
Yeah, he does, but look, this Hull City crowd won't mind that in terms of what their team are doing now, looking so much more aggressive, and I think some of this stems from that little break-in play we had. Liam Rossini, he got a lot of the players in, who was giving them some very strict instructions, and since then they, as I say, look more aggressive going forward, and have definitely, that's paid dividends for them with the goal.
And West Bromwich Albion need to sort out their away form very quickly, because they were picking up points on the road with regularity when Carlos Corberán arrived, and they had that purple patch either side of the World Cup. But we're really entering the season of the grind in the Championship. Plenty of games on wearing pitches with weary players, and they need to sort it out very quickly, because we see teams fall away from the playoff picture all too easily in the Championship. And if Blackburn, or rather West Brom, spend another season away, then that time away from the Premier League just begins to get a bit longer, and the parachute payments become a bit more of a distant memory.
Yeah, we see it, don't we, with clubs, and I don't think West Brom are going to keep falling down the leagues by any stretch, but Sunderland's probably a prime example of being in the Premier League and just dropping. As the seasons go by, it gets more and more difficult after the Premier League, so time is of the essence for West Brom in terms of trying to get back into the Premier League as quickly as possible.
Easier said than done. If it stays like this, they'll remain 11th in the table, 6 points away from the top 6, and of course there are some teams in there in very good form. Longman with the ball in towards Tete, who brings it down with his back to goal, lays it wide to the far side, and Doherty. Now Coyle, Holborn with the shaggy hair down the right hand side, back again to Ozan Tufan, a driven cross in from him over the head of Tete, and headed away at the far post by Wallace. But West Brom very cheap in possession now as we head towards half-time, trailing by a goal to nil on Talksport 2. A match transformed by the opening goal from Benjamin Tete, his first for Hull City. He was sent off at Sheffield United on Talksport 2 about 6 weeks ago. A brief, bitter cameo there, but a very different experience on a Friday night here so far, as Longman tries to deliver a volley cross into the penalty area down the left, gets it all wrong, and it slides behind for a goal kick.
And it's very much roles reversed now. In this game we saw in that moment that Hull City, they're keeping sustained attacks, they're keeping West Brom in their half and trying to get in their defensive shape. West Brom, when they do win it back, giving it away cheaply the way that Hull City did earlier in the half, it really has turned on its head.
We're into a minimum of 2 minutes added time. Albrighton now trying his luck down the right hand side. Plays it back to Furlong, and a high diagonal delivered towards Townsend on the left, but Coyle will try and shepherd the ball behind for a goal kick, and that's what he does. And there are one or two West Bromwich Albion players exhibiting body language which isn't great at the moment, and Carlos Corberán has a big 15 minutes coming up.
No, and it's something as a manager as well that he won't accept, as his counterpart on the side, Liam Rossini. We were speaking about his standards, and Carlos Corberán is no different. He expects a lot from his squad, and they'll be disappointed, but they've got to take the positives from how well they dominated the first half hour. They can't feel sorry for themselves and find themselves further behind West Brom.
Now, flick forward by Malumbi, and two Hull City players get there before the American Daryl Dike. Hooked high into the air by Jones, and then Hull eventually win it back themselves, and it's sprayed wide to this near side. Longman looking to go beyond Furlong, who goes to ground, but this time doesn't get the free kick and concedes the throw-in, which goes to Hull City, and Furlong rather petulantly just throws the ball up in the air towards Longman, and Hull City will have a throw-in, which is close to the Rugby League 20-metre line on this near side. And there are one or two heavily sanded areas on the pitch as the throw-in never comes because the half-time whistle goes. And Hull City lead here by 1-0. They were utterly dominated in the opening half hour. Carl Darlow making a couple of excellent saves, but then Benjamin Tete out of nothing smashed in his first goal for Hull 12 minutes before the break, and since then they have looked the more likely goal scorers. A match which really epitomises the twists and turns of the Championship. At half-time, it is Hull City 1, West Bromwich Albion 0. Thank you, Dan. Hull City just re-emerging for the second half here. West Brom are already out on the field. There don't look to be any changes to either side during the break. So the two teams again. Hull City, Darlow in goal, Coyle, Jones, McLaughlin and Elder their back four. Doherty and Simons in midfield with Tufan, Slater and Longman behind the goal scorer Tete. For West Bromwich Albion, Griffiths in goal, Furlong, O'Shea, Peters and Townsend, Yukuzlu and Malumbi in midfield, Wallace, Swift and Albrighton behind DK. And Daryl Dike had a couple of decent chances during the first half, didn't take them, and Benjamin Tete certainly did for Hull City, and they lead at half-time here at the MKM Stadium. And Hull in tiger stripes get the second half underway. West Brom in red shirts, blue shorts and white socks. And McLaughlin just slips as he plays a long ball forward, but it's quickly closed down by Albrighton, who then slides in and he catches Callum Elder, but no free kick given. Albrighton then does well to win it back. It's played forward by Malumbi, but only as far as McLaughlin, and it's out of play on the far side for a throw-in to Hull City. And it did seem that Liam Rosenior recognised there was a lack of support for Tete midway through that first half, changed the formation, got players closer to him, and they saw the benefit.
Yeah, definitely tweaked it. There was a moment where one of the Hull City players went down, and it just given an opportunity to get the rest of the players in, get some instructions across, and it's definitely worked well for them.
Ozan Tufan on this near side, finding Coyle. Coyle back again to Doherty, who will try and break towards the edge of the penalty area. The cross hits the back of Townsend, and DK will try and bring it clear, and Swift eventually does for West Brom. DK breaks over the halfway line, and Swift just had to hold on to the ball due to a lack of options elsewhere. And now Furlong has it down the West Bromwich Albion right, back in field to O'Shea, and you can hear the West Bromwich Albion fans on the far side looking to try and get behind their team. It would have been a very difficult watch in the first half, their team missing a succession of chances and then falling behind to Hull City's first shot on goal. But now Albrighton plays a good ball into the penalty area. DK shot beaten away by Darlow, and once again the Hull goalkeeper makes an outstanding stop. Here is Townsend now on this near side, another deep ball in, looking for DK, chested down, fired towards goal by Wallace, but he snatches at it and it's wide of the near post.
And so far between that battle, it's 3-0 to Darlow, isn't it? Again, pulls out a really good save. I will say that it was straight at him. I do think that there is an argument that DK could probably have done better in sense of put it to either side of Darlow, but still gets his positioning right. And DK, that's the third chance now. I think 1 out of 3 is got to be scoring.
Now Griffiths outside his penalty area, comes a long way and just hoops it into the crowd, but it will be a throw-in for Hull City. And Daryl Dike with 5 goals in 15 games this season following injury. Not all of those games have been starts, and he never seemed to miss when he was playing for Barnsley in the Championship, but it's been a different story since. Of course, a different style of play in that team. He got the ball forward around him very quickly, the way Valérien Ismaël wanted to do things. As Hull come forward again here, but the ball wide from Elder after a burst into the penalty area is significantly beyond Slater, and it will be a goal kick.
Yeah, and taking you back on that one, Nigel, in terms of, like I say, the style of play is different. Barnsley was the main man. Pretty much everything was geared towards getting the ball up to him quickly and them scoring goals, and I suppose it's different within the way that Carlos Corberán plays and West Bromwich Albion as a whole, and he's got to adapt to that to be able to get himself back in the goals.
4 minutes played in the second half here at the MKM Stadium. Hull City 1, West Bromwich Albion 0 on Talksport 2, the home of the EFL. Now Yukuzlu wide to this near side, and Peters, and Yukuzlu again is pressurised by Doherty, but he's got support from Furlong. But it breaks down for West Bromwich Albion as they try and patiently play through the thirds, and it's a promising run forward on the far side. And a decent run from Simons, and the low cross into the area is dabbed away at the near post by O'Shea. Simons will gather again. And at times West Bromwich Albion just seem to be lacking that cohesion. A free kick's been conceded by Malumbi, taken quickly. Now Slater plays it wide to the far side. Longman's cross in, though, is a poor one, and there's an opportunity for Malumbi to clear, but it doesn't stick again with Wallace. And a low ball in from Elder. A shot on the turn from Tufan is blocked. It's laid back towards the edge of the penalty area. Slater fires an effort into the crowd, and it loops up harmlessly into the arms of Griffiths. He quickly bowls out on this near side for DK. DK now looking to go beyond Coyle. Coyle slides in with a challenge, and the final touch was off DK, and there's an extravagant celebration from Liam Rosenior. He's not just watching this game, he's really playing it, isn't he? Yeah,
he is, and I was looking at that reaction, the way that he's clapping his captain, and rightly so. The recovery run from Louis Coyle was absolutely brilliant. DK, we know how good he is on the ball, and the way that he can travel with it and really eat up the ground, but Louis Coyle doing everything there to get back and make the challenge.
And the home crowd responding once again to a piece of endeavour from their captain as McLaughlin goes back to Darlow, who has been the player of the match for Hull so far, kept them afloat and has since kept them ahead. 1-0 they lead. Tete on this near side allows the ball to bounce, then lays it back to Coyle quickly infield to Tufan, but Tete was caught by a late challenge from Jason Malumbi, and there'll just be a word from James Livington, the referee.
Yeah, it didn't look anything enough for a red card. He's been given the yellow there. It was late. Tete does look in bother. He's banging the ground. Physio's not on yet though, so I don't know if he's been asked the question and refused. Maybe it's just one of those, especially with how cold it is tonight. It just seems to hurt that little bit more when you get stamped on in these conditions.
Yeah, if you've been caught on the end of the toes, and bearing in mind how light and flimsy football boots are these days. Tete is back on his feet, gets a warm round of applause from the home supporters, and the temperature here has shown little sign of rising during half-time. Now Darlow, wide to the far side. McLaughlin with a high ball forward. It's taken down by Longman, and two West Bromwich Albion players rather collide, and Tufan is able to play it wide towards Coyle. Tete waits down the centre on the edge of the penalty area, in towards Tete. Lay back again to Tufan. Now Doherty. Tufan has been given time to turn. Goes back towards Doherty. And Hull here are retaining possession much better in the early stages of the second half than they were for much of the first. 52 minutes played, and they lead West Bromwich Albion by 1-0 as Peter steps in on this near side, but all he can do is just launch it out of play, and it will be a throw in to Hull City, and they're getting in confidence, Courtney.
Yeah, they are. They're going forward. They've started this second half off the way that they left the first half. A couple of good chances. That one a moment ago from Tufan, he's hit it on the swivel. It's ended in it being blocked, but again, it's the fact that they're getting into the West Bromwich defensive third much more so in the opening 10 minutes of this half than they did in the first.
And it's the sort of football and the sort of atmosphere that Adjun Ilayela will have been looking for as two players go down right on the edge of the penalty area. Ryan Longman was the Hull City player. He just collided there with Furlong, and the ball did bounce behind, and I think a corner kick's been given in the end.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That it didn't look to me like Furlong had touched the ball. I did think he caught Longman, and I think that's the argument that Longman's having with the referee. Obviously he feels that it's come off Furlong there, so the corner kick's been given.
It'll be taken by Ozan Tufan on the far side. Does have the short option of Xavier Simons. Doherty, Tete and Jones wait on the edge of the penalty area. It's back towards Slater in the end, and now Simons will hit it, and it wasn't too far wide from the Chelsea youngster, and Josh Griffiths was rooted to the spot.
Yeah, he was. I think he thought that was going to nestle in that bottom right hand corner as we're looking at the goal. I did too. It's a wonderful strike. It just skips off the turf at the last minute, but luckily from a West Brom perspective it just goes past the post.
Now Furlong just slips again. One or two players are beginning to slip and slide on the playing surface. There are a couple of bare areas, particularly on this near side, where they look as though they've been filled in with sand, and it's a bit mottled away to the right as well, considering it's a dual purpose pitch and the rugby league has restarted, although they've only played one home game here so far, Hull FC against Castleford last week. The pitch doesn't look too bad, and the home support here really enjoying what they're seeing, because after their side had to weather the storm, they're playing the more constructive football here, and under the new manager he'll be seeing the sort of signs he wants from many of his players. Yeah,
definitely, in terms of the fact that, look, even when they were under pressure they didn't concede. That's a massive bonus, and the fact that within the game they've been adaptable. Yes, it's taken some words from him on the sideline, but I always think if you have to wait to go in at half time to change things, that's not always possible. So the fact that the players are changing that and being adaptable in game is very positive.
A low ball towards the edge of the penalty area here for West Brom, and Malumbi went down, but nothing has been given, and now it's cleared away up towards the halfway line, and there's an opportunity for Ozan Tufan to break forward for Hull, and it finds Tete, who strikes it, and I think it came back off the crossbar there, maybe the arms of Griffiths as well, but Tete from a similar wide angle to the goal let fly once again, and Griffiths and possibly the woodwork denied him a second goal. Yeah, very similar angle, just on the opposite side of the pitch, so hits it with his right foot this time. It's a fierce strike. To be honest, I'm thinking, can you pass it to a teammate? But obviously full of confidence from the first goal, and definitely it hits the target. I think Griffiths maybe just does get a little bit on it and then knocks it onto the crossbar. Well, he's the man for the spectacular tonight so far, Benjamin Tete. Corner kick from Tufan into the near post, glanced on and in, and it's a second goal, and it's McLaughlin who rose unchallenged to flick the header beyond Josh Griffiths, and Hull City double their lead, and West Bromwich Albion's away form could be costing them a tilt at the playoffs. Sean McLaughlin with the second. It is Hull City 2, West Bromwich Albion 0. What an unbelievable turnaround for Hull City. Just watching the staff below us high-fiving, hugging. I think especially coaches love goals from a set piece, and we see it there. McLaughlin though, yes, it's a good header, it's a good ball in, don't get me wrong, but there needs to be an inquest here as to why there is no West Bromwich Albion defender anywhere near, and why this is so easy
But massive credit to Hull City. They've got themselves back into the game. They've started the second half extremely well. They're the ones that look like putting on the pressure, and then they've done what West Brom couldn't do in the first half, and they've taken advantage of that early pressure.
Well, 2-0. West Brom heading for 4 successive away defeats, plus the FA Cup defeat at Bristol City. They've given the ball away again now. And the reprieve following that save from Griffiths to keep out Tete's shot was very brief. Tufan with the sort of international class in that delivery you may anticipate from the Turk. And then it was thundered in by McLaughlin, and a lot of tall players in that West Bromwich Albion team, but no one got near him.
No, and that's the worry. You can sometimes take it when the players are matched up, they're being defended, and if someone rises higher or is stronger at the time, that's one thing, but to not even be marked and have the freedom of that box is something that I imagine will upset Carlos Corberán.
And it's Sean McLaughlin's first goal for Hull City. Benjamin Tete with his first in the first half, and Sean McLaughlin following suit here. Now Tete is down looking for treatment, and the referee is telling him just get up and walk a couple of yards to the touchline and then receive some treatment.
Yeah, he seems to be struggling. I don't know when it's earlier, when he gets sort of caught on the end of his foot. Obviously there's been a bit of time towards that, but I don't know as time's gone on, is he's kept on and tried to run it off, whether he's struggling with it.
Throwing on this near side for Hull City, leading 2-0 with 59 minutes played here. And this will go down as one of their most impressive results of the season. Certainly for a long time they beat a couple of the contenders under Shota Arveladze, but in the main it's been a bit of a grind. 5 wins, 7 draws and 4 defeats since Liam Rosenior took over, as the flag goes up on the far side against John Swift as West Brom try and break into the penalty area. But they've not lost at home here since November the 12th, although 4 of those 6 games since have been drawn. But Liam Rosenior is getting a tune out of players here, and now he's making the changes, and Oscar Estepinian will be among those coming on, along with another January signing on loan from Crystal Palace, Malcolm Aboué. But the changes that Liam Rosenior has made tonight, well, you can't doubt that they made an impact.
Yeah, and that's the thing, in terms of that's what you want from your players. Sometimes it's difficult to be on the bench, there's tension, but what Nathan Tete's done very well, Benjamin Tete has done extremely well, is when he's got his opportunity today, he's took it with both hands.
Free kick has now been awarded for West Bromwich Albion for a challenge on Nathaniel Chalabar, who came on for Darnell Furlong. It looks as though they've switched to a back 3 now, with Yakuzlu dropping into the middle, and Townsend will try and get forward down the left hand side. And at the moment West Bromwich Albion look a beaten team here, with 61 minutes played on Talksport 2, trailing by 2-0, and their early dominance now seems a long way off.
Yeah, it doesn't. As you say, you can see what West Brom are now trying to do. They're trying to overload Hull City in wide areas, so it'll really test that defensive shape now.
But now crossing from Albrighton over the head of DK, nodded clear by Coyle, under pressure from Swift at the far post, and it will be a throw-in for West Bromwich Albion, and they need a goal here very quickly on Talksport 2, trailing by 2-0. Here is Peters, looks to this near side in Townsend, but goes back in field to Chalabar, who was operating at the base of their midfield. The West Brom player has gone down, but they will continue here, and it's Wallace who eventually gets back to his feet. The cross in is over the head of DK, cleared as far as Swift, who goes down, and he was fouled by Doherty. It will be a free kick for West Brom inside the D on the edge of the penalty area.
Yeah, and this is a really good opportunity now for West Bromwich Albion, as you say, just outside the D, so he's got that opportunity to get it up and over the wall just in time to try and test the Hull City goalkeeper. But you know, so far Carl Darlow, he stood so strong.
And they've got plenty of contenders over this free kick. John Swift, you would imagine, would be the primary one. It's his sort of range, just outside the D in the end. And Carl Darlow has been pretty much unbeatable so far.
With the night Darlow's having, it's got to be something spectacular to beat him.
Well, Swift will strike the free kick right-footed over the wall, off the inside of the post, and then hammered over the top from close range by Dara O'Shea. Well, Darlow was beaten there. Brilliant free kick from Swift, but it pinged off the inside of the post.
And I said it needed to be something spectacular. It very nearly was, up and over the wall, back across that left-hand side, cannons off the post.
Benjamin Tete now coming off, and Oscar Estepinian will come on, and a double change as well for West Bromwich Albion. Adam Reach and Taylor Gardner-Hickman will be coming on. Jason Malumbi is one of the players going off for West Brom. Estepinian, a player who needs a goal. 7 without. And Adam Reach will also come on, and he replaces Connor Townsend. So a more offensive left wing back now as Carlos Corberán looks to change the shape. 64 minutes played here on Talksport 2. Hull 2, West Bromwich Albion 0. Not the scoreline that many people were anticipating at the start of this game, or during the game, certainly in the opening 25 minutes or so. But Liam Rosenior made a few changes, and in terms of tactics, and they've really worked. And you're listening to Hull against West Brom in the EFL, live on Talksport 2 with Carling, the UK's #1 lager, 18 plus. Please drink responsibly. And don't forget, more live sport coming up on Talksport 2 tomorrow. 5:15 from the Gallagher Premiership, live from Twickenham. Harlequins against Exeter with Andrew McKenna and Tom May. And that's followed by PGA Tour Golf at 8 o'clock, live coverage of the Arnold Palmer Invitational from the Arnold Palmer Bay Hill Club and Lodge in Orlando. Now DK inside the penalty area, takes a shot from an impossible angle on the right-hand side, and that's justified by an impossible finish, high over the top.
Yeah, wrong decision. And Adam Reach, who's just come on, he makes a really good run initially. The ball drops to DK on the second phase, and all he needs to do at that point is put it across to his teammate. He doesn't. He goes for the spectacular. It's such an acute angle, and Adam Reach, rightly so, arms aloft in the air as if to say, why are you not playing me that ball?
Now Yakuzlu tries to find Taylor Hickman, but the free kick's been given for the challenge by Xavier Simons. And Swift will take it, and West Brom are running out of time here. 66 minutes played, 2-0 down. Gardner-Hickman wide to the far side, the cross into the penalty area. It's flicked on by Reach. I think he should have left it really, because it was heading straight to Swift, who would have had a clear side of goal around the penalty spot.
Yeah, it's always difficult, that one, when you're trying to head the ball, you're running back away from goal. There wasn't an awful lot of pace on the ball, it was more a clip one into the box, and as you say, Swift was in a far better position. Only thing I would say, if that's the case, can't quite hear it from here, but Swift's got to be screaming for the fact that it's his ball.
We're live at Ewell Park on Talksport 2 tomorrow lunchtime. Blackburn against Sheffield United. I'll be alongside Neil Redfern over on Talksport. Manchester City against Newcastle with Rashmin Sam and Dean Ashton. And then Ian Danta and Alvin Martin will bring you Arsenal against Bournemouth here on Talksport 2 at 3. Adrian Durham has Game Day Live from Stamford Bridge with all the goals as they go in. Arsenal against Chelsea, the Continental Cup final coming up on Talksport 2. 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, the first silverware of the women's football season. Brentford against Fulham from the Premier League Monday Night Football. Now a chance for West Brom inside the penalty area, and again Darlow makes another fine save, and this time it's to keep out the shot from Wallace, and he blocks with his legs.
He does extremely well initially when this comes into Wallace. I don't think he's expecting it. He's probably better served trying to take that first time through bodies, but he does manage to sort his feet out really well. Gets the shot off, but then again Carl Darlow does well. He saves with his feet this time, but doesn't matter how he gets it away, it's another brilliant save from him.
Now Elder clears on the far side for Hull. West Brom have a throw-in, and they've taken a grip on this game once again, but they're doing so from 2 goals down with only 22 minutes to play on Talksport 2. Now O'Shea in towards Wallace, who tries to clip it further wide to the far side than Albrighton, but just scoops it high over his head, straight out of play, and it will be a throw-in for Hull City. And this stadium has a really good noise about it, really good feel about it now. It's the sort of ground where it needs to be pretty full to really generate a fantastic atmosphere, but those inside the stadium are generating it now. The top tier here is closed, apart from a sofa away to our left-hand side, which is provided by the sponsors. Just down there, you can see the tops of the 2 heads. There's a child and a dad, presumably, who've obviously won an award from the sponsors, and they're sat on the sofa tonight watching the game, chomping on food from a hamper.
Yeah, it's all right for some.
Yeah. I heard they brought the layers. West Brom have won a corner on the far side. Swift will take it. DK makes the run towards the near post. Estepinian is there to slice the clearance away. Albrighton is beaten to it on the edge of the box, but Gardner-Hickman wins it back under pressure from Tufan. Back towards Swift again. He's got support on the outside, and now it's poked further wide towards Albrighton. The cross into the penalty area, headed away as far as Chalabar. Chalabar's shot, though, is blocked at source by Doherty. That spins high into the West Bromwich Albion half once again, and you just get the feeling now, Courtney, that West Brom aren't going to score this evening.
No, I think Hull City have done incredibly well in terms of soaking up the first 30 minutes in the first half, but again now they've got themselves the lead, and then with the change of formation, they're soaking up the crosses into the box. They're very happy from wide areas just to bat the balls away as they come in. The only thing I would say is sometimes it's a little bit dangerous to invite that pressure, so they still need to try and get forward at times.
Now Reach in the central area, hits it left-footed, and Darlow turns it aside. I think he lost the flight of that ball, but managed to readjust and shovel it behind for a corner.
Yeah, it did. It was an awkward one. I think it was also the way it bounced, but probably should do better to get himself behind it, but in the end manages to get himself away.
Swift with a corner, an outswinger high into the penalty area. O'Shea with a header, but he gets it all wrong, and it drifts harmlessly behind for a goal kick. And we're into the final minutes, 20 minutes on Talksport 2, leading here Hull City by 2-0. First Hull City goals for Benjamin Tete in the first half and Sean McLaughlin in the second. And we welcome listeners from Talksport to the MKM Stadium. Hull City leading West Brom by 2-0 with 19 minutes to play. Terrific strike from Benjamin Tete to give Hull the lead on 33 minutes. They'd been dominated up to that point. That was their first shot on goal. And then early in the second half, Ozan Tufan's header was flicked in at the near post by Sean McLaughlin. Both players scoring their first goal for the club. And Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, we've seen John Swift hit the post with a free kick since, but West Brom's home form is really hurting them.
Yeah, we haven't. It's the only real chance of note in this second half that West Brom has had. Actually, there's another one from Jed Wallace, but what they're finding is an inspired goalkeeper tonight in Carl Darlow, especially in the first half, making a string of saves. But what I will say is, for Hull City, once they got themselves in front, they've been the dominant team. They've then in the second half came out again, stretched it, made it difficult, and got themselves 2-0 ahead. And from now, it's a real big mountain to climb for West Brom. They've changed the formation. They've gone through at the back to try and get more joy in wide areas, but Hull City are very happy just to deal with the crosses.
Hull heading for their first victory in 7 meetings against West Bromwich Albion, and at the moment Albion will believe they've been out of luck, but Hull City have taken their chances when they've come. 18 minutes to play. Commentary continues on Talksport 2. Hull 2, West Brom 0. And Carl Darlow will take a goal kick on this near side. And West Brom do have the look of a beaten team here at the moment. I think from the moment that Swift's free kick came back off the inside of the post, they just knew it was going to be one of those nights, and there have been too many of those away from home recently. Of course, they led for a long time at Burnley on a Friday night before eventually being beaten by 2-1. Lost 3-2 at Watford in a game when they defended pretty poorly at times, although there were a number of deflections in the build-up to the Watford goals. And then losing at Birmingham, which was a shock result in terms of current form. And now losing at Hull City, which is a surprising result, bearing in mind Hull have found it so difficult to score goals. 18 goals in 17 home games before tonight, and they've scored 2 here either side of half-time. And they've had other chances. This could be 3 or 4.
Yeah, it could be, and I was actually doing that game at Watford, and such a strange one, the way that they leaked goals that night, West Brom, the Watford goals came from absolutely nowhere. They will have been so disappointed, working so hard to get themselves back into that game. This one's different in terms of the fact that they dominated for so long. They didn't let their opportunities count. They didn't put the ball in the back of the net, and Hull City have certainly made them pay.
Free kick awarded to Hull just inside their own half. Played long down the centre, looking for Longman, but it's guided back by O'Shea towards Griffiths. And West Brom will try and build from deep once again, trailing here by 2-0. Hull have been decent, if not spectacular, at home, and that's the way it's been so far in this game, leading by 2-0. Spectacular goals, certainly the first one, and now West Brom do have a free kick conceded by Callum Elder on the far side. And there's a lack of striking options, of course, for Carlos Corberán, and at times it has looked like it, as Ryan Longman will come off now for Hull, and Aliyar, the young Iranian international, will come on to replace him. And Aliyar hasn't played since January the 2nd due to injury, but will now make his first team return for Hull City with 15 minutes to play. Another player signed from Turkish football this season. Swift with the free kick, glanced towards goal and glanced wide in the end by Yakuzlu. And when you look at the stats of this game, Courtney, West Brom fans who maybe haven't seen it will think, oh, we're really unlucky there, but the reality is, if you don't take your chances, you're going to get done. Yeah,
I get where the fans will be coming from when seeing that, but the chances that they created was enough to at least get 1 goal out of them. I don't think they were all massively clear cut. They need to be doing better, and that's the thing, when you don't put your opportunities away, you still give the opposing team the opportunity to get back into the game, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, West Brom, 2 goals down, 68% possession. They've had 18 attempts on goal, 6 on target. Hull have had 8 attempts, 2 on target.
Clinical. 2 on target and 2 goals.
And they also hit the crossbar as well. And we have 13 minutes to play here on Talksport 2. Hull 2, West Brom 0, as Swift plays a good ball into the penalty area, and it's cut back for Reeks, but he never gets hold of it. The ball was slightly behind him, he had to readjust, and in the end he scuffs it wide, with Darlow actually on the ground.
Yeah, it's a shame, because that's probably, for me, one of the best opportunities of the game. The cutback is the right idea. He's running onto it, reaching. You just expected him to side foot it in the net, there is a covering defender coming across. I think it's Doherty, don't get me wrong, and he is applying pressure from the back, maybe puts him off slightly, but Doherty can't come through him at that point, so it's in the penalty box. He's obviously going to give away a penalty if he fouls him. So yeah, that's probably the sort of embodiment of what we were just saying, Nigel, in terms of not taking their opportunities when they're coming and paying the price.
And now it's played down the line by Eric Peters, and he puts his head in his hands even before the ball's gone straight out of play, because he knew where that ball was going. But West Brom have 2 home games coming up against sides in the relegation zone, Wigan and then Carlos Corberan's former side Huddersfield. So they will believe they've got the opportunity to maybe try and make up ground. Hull go away to Coventry, who are in decent form at the minute, and then they have a home game here against the leaders Burnley. Reach plays it infield, trying to find Swift, but it's cleared away by Simons, straight out of play, and it will be a throw into West Brom again.
And you're looking at those fixtures, and you would say that West Brom, they've got the easier set, but equally, how many people tonight are expecting Hull City to be 2-0 up at this point, so we know that anything can happen.
Well, they've been so good at home recently, West Brom. Only conceded 1 goal in their last 9 home games, but you know, funny things happen at this stage of the season. We know all about that. Teams at the bottom can often find form from somewhere and find their way to safety. And if Reading get that points deduction enforced, then there could be a very interesting finish on the cards. Now reach for West Brom, but it's a misplaced ball, but it's recovered by Chalobah, and the space here for Swift, who was onside down the left, and he picks out Reach with a low ball that appeals for handball against Coyle, but it bounced up and hit him on the hand. It would have been a very harsh decision, and it's a free kick, or rather it's an opportunity for West Brom to bring the ball forward again. Chalobah wide towards the far side, Albrighton with the cross in beyond Wallace at the near post, headed away again. Hull have defended superbly in the second half, and of course it's helped when they've had a goalkeeper in such good form. And now Peters is being replaced for West Brom, and Rico Richards is coming on to make his league debut for West Bromwich Albion. 19 years of age, he's been in the academy since he was 7, has featured previously in cup competitions, but this is league debut, and he's taken up a position on the left hand side of midfield.
And it's obviously the fact that they're taking a defender off and putting a forward on, but is it also sort of maybe a little bit of a message by Carlos Corberan, the fact that he's bringing someone on from his debut who's obviously not happy with the experienced heads on the pitch right now?
Well, without Carlin Grant, who's had a very good goal scoring record against Hull in recent years, Brandon Thomas Asante, Grady Diangana also unavailable. And if you take those players out of the team, in a team which of course really struggled badly at the start of the season, you've got Daryl Dike in there, and his form for the club has been sporadic at times, although played very well last week when he scored twice against Middlesbrough. But tonight's been one of those nights for him. He could say he's been denied by really good goalkeeping, but if you're a striker in form, at least one of those chances should have gone in.
Yeah, I think as you say now, I think is it 3 or 4 real good chances he's had, and especially after scoring last week, you're thinking he's coming into this game full of confidence. And I agree in the fact that I think that he needs to be burying at least one of the 3 chances that has been presented to him.
Now Ridge coming forward on this near side for West Bromwich Albion, finding Swift further square, and Wallace will pick out Albrighton now playing on the right. The cross high to the far post. Coyle does well to leap and head the ball away to this near side. First involvement for Richards. Richards will try and hit the byline, and he's done well because his cross delivered into the near post is blocked by Tufan, and it will be a corner kick for West Brom with nearly 8 minutes to play here. Hull leading by 2-0 on Talksport 2. John Swift will take it. One of a number of players wearing gloves on what is a freezing evening, and Swift with the ball in, but Darlow rises through the crowd and claims in both hands and makes it look very comfortable.
That's exactly what you want from your goalkeeper. He's been outstanding all night in terms of his shot stopping, but there, when West Brom are trying to put Hull City under pressure in the latter stages, comes and commands his area so well and wins possession back for his team.
And now his long clearance downfield is headed out to play by Adam Reach, and it will be a throw-in for Hull City. Abdallah made his debut last week at Bristol City when Hull lost by 1-0. And he's really given them the platform here tonight, because without those early saves, West Brom could have swept them away. 83 minutes played here on Humberside. Hull 2, West Brom 0. Estepina has support, but in the end just slips over, and Reach is able to clear. So many attacking players on the field now for West Brom. They could be vulnerable on the breakaway, but Gardner-Hickman's done well to find Albrighton. And now Gardner-Hickman once again. O'Shea. Well, he's given the ball away straight to Slater. Estepinian in space down the centre was looking for the early ball forward, and there was a huge gap between Yakuslu and Reach, both playing at the back now, neither central defenders. Now Estepinian losing out to Yakuslu in the air, and Gardner-Hickman can bring it forward. Wide to the far side, and Albrighton again. Only DK inside the penalty area. Swift now arrives, but the cross is beyond both of them, and it's claimed by Darlow. And one or two of the West Brom fans now contemplating that long journey back to the Black Country. Darlow's clearance skips off the head on the far side of Mark Albrighton, and it will be a throw into Hull, as Jacob Greaves now comes on to replace Ozan Tufan for Hull City. Greaves, of course, has been in the spotlight, one of the academy players who has been attracting interest from the Premier League. And Tufan, a popular figure here at the MKM Stadium, and he's had a decent game, prompting behind Benjamin Tete in the main. And it's Greaves who comes on, and there's an embrace from Liam Rossigna. Greaves will take his position on the left-hand side. 17,021 is the crowd here at the MKM Stadium, which is around the average. Now Yakuslu on the edge of the penalty area for West Brom. 5 minutes to play on Talksport 2. Hull 2, West Brom 0. And there doesn't look to be any way back for West Brom in this game, and it will be 5 successive defeats in all competitions away from home, rather offsetting their impregnable form at the Hawthorns.
I think it's obviously something that Carlos Corberán and his staff need to have a real good look at, try and get to the bottom of why the away form currently is so poor, because when he first come in, they'd won the first 4 of his first 5 away games, so they know they can do it, but just seem to be hitting a rough patch away from home at the moment.
Now Estepina spreads it wide to this near side, but he can't quite find Slater, and Reach will play the ball in field towards the edge of the Albion penalty area, and Yakuslu. And all the noise is coming from the Hull supporters at the moment. The Albion fans are leaving in their droves. Many of them have seen enough. Albrighton twisting and turning away from Greaves on the far side. High cross towards the edge of the penalty area. DK nods it down, and then Swift with a complete miss kick, and there's a convergence of bodies inside the penalty area. A Hull player has gone down. Jed Wallace was the player involved for West Brom. He's now back on his feet, but it was all very, very untidy.
Yeah, it was, but initially I think DK did really well, and for the negatives that I said about not tucking away his chances, actually sort of his all-around play in the way that he's brought the ball down on a number of occasions, I think has been positive. I say that little knockdown there, Swift doesn't do well enough with it, and I think the midfielders haven't got round him quick enough to support, or if they have, sort of the execution, whether it be on the next ball forward or the shot, hasn't been good enough from West Brom.
2.5 minutes to play. And I think play will resume with a drop ball here. And Greaves has said he will launch it long downfield, which is what he does. So Albion have the ball back. Chalobah in the centre circle. Wide towards Reach. Chalobah again. Every single outfield player is inside the whole half here. Yakuzlu. And now O'Shea, and Albrighton takes over, but the delivery from the wide areas in the second half has not been good enough for West Bromwich Albion. Maybe now Albrighton with the cross in, but DK trying to hold off two Hull players, doesn't win the ball, seemed to clip McLaughlin, who goes down, but play continues. It was behind the back of the referee, and Gardner-Hickman driving towards the penalty area, slides into a challenge. The ball squirts across the edge of the box, but Albion try and win it back, and in the end they give the ball away, and it will be a throw into Hull City.
I'm just looking at the times now. It's about to clock into the 90th minute, and you just see the body language of the West Brom players. They're so disappointed, and rightly so, but I think we've got to give a lot of credit to Hull City, the way they've played. Yes, the first 30 minutes it was difficult for them, but after that they've been really positive. Liam Rosenior shuffling things around a little bit in that first half and just giving some instructions to get them higher up the pitch, and they've done extremely well with his instruction.
Well, Slater has just flagged offside. It will be a free kick for West Brom. Carlos Corbrand is still cajoling his team. Yakuzlu right towards O'Shea, and Albion have shuffled things around in the second half, but they've had their chances, but they've just not taken them, and at times DK has been heavily outnumbered inside the penalty area. Now Coyle brings it forward for Hull down their right. Reach though does well to win it back, and here is DK given the room to turn, and he's encouraging Albrighton to chase into plenty of space on the far side, and in the end the ball beats both he and Elder into touch in front of some fairly disgruntled looking West Bromwich Albion fans stood there with their arms outstretched saying, what's going on, as we enter a minimum of 4 added minutes.
Yeah, and again I think it's just the wrong decision from DK. Initially he drops in, does well, gets the ball on the half turn, and then he can keep driving with the ball, in my opinion. Tries to play that ball to Albrighton, who with the best will in the world, even in his prime, he wasn't the fastest player. It was just the wrong decision and the wrong ball. If you're going to play that ball out wide, you've got to play it to feet.
Now Chalobah wins it on the far side, and it's got support, and Albion looking to pack the penalty area now, but it may be too late. Chalobah down the right. Swift makes the initial run. Here is Albrighton around the back, tries to deliver the cross, which is blocked by Elder, and Albion will have a corner in the 91st minute.
And you feel that anything now, barring something extremely spectacular, is just going to be a consolation.
Once again, every outfield player around the penalty area as the corner is flicked on by Yakuzlu outside the penalty area. Gardner-Hickman returns it towards the far post. O'Shea wins a good header, but it's cleared away by McLaughlin. There was no red shirt anywhere near him. Simons is able just to lift the ball clear. Gardner-Hickman all the way back towards Griffiths, who is midway inside his own half, the Albion goalkeeper. And Liam Rosenior is urging his players to try and press and push on here, but it looks like the job's been done. But here is Richards on the burst for West Brom down the left, and he gets there before McLaughlin, finds Albrighton, and now Swift with the cross in, and it's flicked on, and the shot from reach at the far post is snatched wide, but the flag was raised for offside anyway.
Yeah, it was always going to be a difficult angle for Reach there. He's having to bring the ball down quickly, defenders around him, and to say the angle's so acute, so to then try and beat Cardalo has been so good in that Hull City goal today. It was always going to be a big ask.
Well, the Hull fans in great voice now. They were all a bit subdued in the early stages when their team were being outplayed by West Brom, but the moment Tete scored the opening goal, the atmosphere was transformed. And Liam Rosenior and the owner, Adjun Iliela, may believe they've now got something to build on after what was a real false start under Shota Arveladze this season. Now Wallace on the far side, slipped in towards Gardner Hickman. His low cross though is blocked, and it's smashed high into the sky by Elder. Estepinian tries to bring it down, but he's lost out to Chalabar. Now Doherty looks to lead the charge, and he's fouled by Gardner Hickman, who just clipped his ankle and receives a yellow card.
Yeah, and it's goodbye Doherty. He's on to the second phase really well, and I think that's actually what Hull have impressed me with as well, and where they've been far better than West Brom in the second balls. It always seems to be Hull City that have come out on top.
Caldalo will take the free kick. I'll be interested to see who wins the player of the match for Hull City. It's not been announced yet, but he's got to be one of the contenders, surely.
Yeah, you would imagine so. He kept them in the game when it's important. Again, when we're in the league.
But as you know, strikers get the glory.
They do, but to be fair, I'm going to sort of come away from the Strikers Union today, and I would give it Cardalo, because I think he's the one that's kept them in the game, has kept them in the lead.
And that's it. Hull City can celebrate a welcome victory here at the MKM Stadium, but for West Bromwich Albion, their playoff challenge continues to falter, and it's down to their away form. 4 successive defeats on the road in the Championship, and it simply can't continue if they're to feature in the postseason this year. Benjamin Tete and Sean McLaughlin both scoring their first goals for the Tigers either side of half-time. It is finished Hull City 2, West Bromwich Albion 0.